Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Shaman in the Garden with me, Faye Johnston, here to help you awaken your inner wisdom and help you feel supported by the web of life with inspiration from the earth seasons and cycles, from plant medicine and the magic of nature. And my guest today is an amazing plant spirit communicator, herbalist, teacher, earth elder, and author, Pam Montgomery. Pam has been connecting with plants for over 4 decades and is a true pioneer for us all in this wonderful world of plant spirit healing. As a spokesperson for the green beings, Pam connects with the intelligent spiritual nature of plants. She teaches plant initiations and spiritual ecology, and her most recent work and her book focuses on co-creative partnership with nature, working with plants to heal the wounds of separation from nature. So I am so delighted to welcome Pam with us today. Thank you, Pam. Hello.
Oh, well, thank you so much, Faye, for inviting me because it's so fun to be able to share with other plant people. So I'm excited to be here. Thank you.
Well, thank you. And I just really want to kind of like anybody who's remotely interested in plant spirit healing and connecting with nature will be familiar with your work. And your work, your that first book of your, or the first book I connected with anyway, the plant was Plant Spirit Healing. And this was probably for me about, I would say, 2010, 2011. It was when I was first setting up the flower farm in Nova Scotia. And I found your book and I was just, it was like a lifeline for me. Not only was it, inspiring and full of the amazing way that you tell stories and share very openly about your processes, but for me it was this reassurance that wow, there's actually somebody else out there who has managed to put into words this connection that we feel with the plants. And so I was wondering, really, did you always know that this was going to be your role? How did it all start for you?
Well, that's a good question. You know, I I get asked that question a lot, and I really have to think about it. But to be honest, I had the great good fortune to have a grandmother who was a big time plant person. And what was wonderful about her, I wasn't old enough to be like taught by her and, all the, information about plants. But she was this person that she would, my grandparents lived in the South, and in the South, you have of the United States, and in the South of the United States, you have your main meal at noontime. And so she would be in the kitchen all morning long and cooking and doing all that. And then you'd have your main meal. And by about 2 o'clock in the afternoon or so, she'd be done with cleaning the kitchen and she'd come outside. She had plants everywhere, all inside. She had plants all inside the house. She had plants all outside the house. And she would come out and she'd start, picking and pruning and doing her thing with the plants, but she'd be talking the whole time. And one time I went up to her and I said, Granny, who are you talking to? And she said, and this was in Kentucky, which very kind of southern accent, so to speak, very different than mine, but I can imitate it really good. She said, well, plants are just like people. They need friends too. And I was like, oh, okay, friends. So in my young child beingness, I got the message from my grandmother who like she almost walked on water for me. I love this woman so much. And when she said that your main thing was to be friends with your plants, I was like, I really took that in. And because she was talking to them, I was like, oh, and you talk to them and you communicate, and that's what you do. That's the message I got very early on. And I thought everybody did that. So when I got to be much older and I'm in the herbal world now and everything, and then I discovered that no, actually, not everybody does do that. And I was kind of like shocked. I was like, oh, really? Like, but isn't that what you're supposed to do? So, so I think my grandmother gave me a head start by just instilling in me that you're in relationship with your plants, and that that's the most important thing, and that you really build on that relationship and they become not only friends, but like your beloveds.
Mm.
So I think that's where it all started. But
Yeah.
but to answer your question further, it's like, I mean, I went through my teenage years, which, but by my early 20s, I was doing the back to the land movement. That was back late 60s, early 70s. So long, long time ago. But in the United States, that was the back to the land time period. And everybody, young people were moving back to the land and they were going to grow all their own food. And, Big Brother's not going to take care of us, that whole thing. And so I was a part of all of that. And part of doing the back to the land thing was you need to take care of your own health. And in those days, there weren't 50 million herb books sitting on the shelf. There was maybe two. There was like Jethro Kloss, and maybe one or two others that were supposed to be identification books, except you couldn't identify any plant by looking at the pictures. So there wasn't a lot of books to rely on. So really, it was about, unless you could find usually an older person, an older country person near where you lived, who had learned about plants that had been handed down. If you could find somebody like that, that was great. But there wasn't like a big herbal thing going on back then. And so it was like, okay, well, how are we going to do this? We have to kind of learn from the plants themselves. And so it was just this kind of organic process that happened. And then it just kind of snowballed from there, to the point at which I was quite a gardener. At one year in my garden, things started to happen in the garden that I couldn't explain.
Oh.
And it was like, what's going on here? There's something else going on here. And so I just kind of delved into all the Findhorn books. At that point, Findhorn was, known about, and all of that, and just started to like, there's something else here that's up with these plants that's way more than their chemical constituents. And I want to know about that. So that's where my interest. So anyway, and from there, it's just continued to evolve. So
Yeah,
that's kind of
amazing
where I come
result.
from.
Thank you so much, Pam. And it feels like when you were saying that you had this inspiration from your grandma, I think, wow, but you're this elder figure for so many of us now. So you are really passing on the baton for like, thousands of us now. So that's amazing. But what do you want to, could you share with us your process? Because you've obviously, developed it by spending time with the plants in a very loving. Oh, actually, so I got a question. I want you to explain your process, which I know you will, but I also want to know, you have a very light-hearted, loving approach. Like you are a ray of sunshine. I am delighted to be,
Well, thank
chatting with
you.
you. You are, and I think that that's reflective of kind of the way that you connect. And I'm wondering, are there any rules? Like because when we listen to you, Pam, and read your books, you make it sound so easy. And I'm wondering, what's the process? Take us through connecting with the plants, and then let me know. Are there any rules that we need to kind of abide
Well, rules. I mean, there's things that I have discovered along the way that seem to work. So, and I'm kind of one of those persons that's like, hey, if it works, don't try to fix it all the time. It's if it's not broken, don't try to fix it. So, when I find something that really works, then that's what I go with. So, I mean, when you talk about the lighthearted part, it's this is not a head trip. So, get get out of your head and into your heart.
with?
That is a key ingredient. And I think that's what keeps me like lighthearted, as you would say, is that I'm not trying to like figure it out. Like, this head wants to like figure it all out and be in control too. So I just kind of ask my ego to take a little break over here. Now, I also have learned that your ego wants to have a job to do. So I'm like, when I'm asking it to go over here, I always give my ego a job, and usually the job of my ego is to take notes. So but I really designate that. It's like, okay, you go over here and you take notes. And so so that's my little technique with like getting that part. So it's really important to realize that this is a heart experience.
Mm.
Heart, heart's the primary organ of perception. I think we all know that by now, and that it's not the brain. And when your heart and your brain are in coherence, when they're communicating with each other, basically the heart receives everything from your environment and from receives it all. It comes here first, and your heart makes a decision about what to do with that information, and then sends that decision. This is the ideal. Sends that decision to the brain, and the brain carries it out. So the two of them working together when it's in coherence is beautiful and wonderful, and that's the way it's supposed to be. But in our modern day culture, there's this idea that the head is rules supreme, and that is not the gifts of the brain is not about making the decisions. That's the heart makes the decision, sends that decision to the brain, and the brain carries it out. So I would say that's a big one for people to get with right away, is that this is a heart experience. And, I mean, I've kind of extended that a little bit further, realizing that, I mean, it's really, you've got the head, the heart, and your gut. And your gut is the instinct place. So there's instinct that comes in here too. So I would say that, first of all, be able to start practicing how to get into your heart, and then it continues on from that. And how do you work with all three? I mean, all three are these centers of brilliance that we have gifts in each one of these areas in our beingness. And they're all important, but they have to be able to work synchronicity. So they have to be able to work together, but you want to lead with the heart. So that's really important. And then from there, of course, good communication is key. I mean, that's the key ingredient in any kind of partnership. And so I'm going to say to everybody, it's not about relationship. You're already in relationship with the plants. That's a given. You breathe. That means you're in relationship with plants. It's like you wouldn't be here if it wasn't for plants, trees, and sea vegetables, who are all of the oxygen on this planet comes from there. All your food comes from plants. All your tissue comes from plants. You don't make tissue from sunlight. Plants do that. So it's a given that you're already in relationship. Now, what we want to do is take it a step further. How do you build that, take it from relational place into being a partner, being in partnership together, co-creatively, so that you're both going to work on this together? Key ingredient to that is good communication. Now, having said that, communication is like, well, people, oh, what am I supposed to hear words in my head? Well, I mean, you and I, we talk with these mouths that make sounds that hopefully we understand. We do to a degree. Now, if you were speaking Polish to me, I'd be like, what is she saying? And I wouldn't be able to communicate with you. So this verbal thing that we do, in all the research I've done, is the least effective form of communication.
Mm.
Number one, because it could be different sounds coming out of my mouth or your mouth that I wouldn't understand. Or I might say one thing to you, but my body language is telling you something else, or my vibrational is telling you something else. So then you go to then inside yourself, you're like, is that the truth? Is she telling the truth? When your vibe is picking up something else. So verbal communication is the least effective.
Mm.
So in the biological world, and this is proven, this is all in the science, in the biological world, the foundational way in which all communication takes place across the whole spectrum is through light and sound and vibratory resonance. It's what carries a vibratory resonance, light and sound being two big ones. So it's really about just learning the language. And I'm gonna say it's about remembering the
Mm.
language. I don't think that we don't know how to communicate. We've just forgotten. And so it's about a remembering process of when you start to communicate through a vibratory level, it's like you can be really spot on in your communication because the vibrations don't lie. They're like, it's just part of the great, beautiful miracle of life is the vibratory resonance of all of it. It's the energy of it. It's the so that's another interesting piece is energy and then what I would call spirit. Spirit's really the sentient part, the conscious part. Energy is energy. You can't create it, you can't destroy it, and it shows up in different ways, heat, light, movement, all of that. But when you combine the two together, when you work with the sentient aspect, the vital principle held to give life, that which is spirit, to direct the energy. So in the healing work of plant spirit healing, that's a key ingredient. You've got the spirit of the plant that directs the energy in a person's physical being or emotional being, whatever it might be. And then again, the marriage of those two together is that's the way it works. It works really well that way. So I'm going on and on. I'm not sure let's see.
Oh,
You
this
asked
is
the
great.
question of what's my process.
Yeah, well, this is great. Well, I'm gonna ask actually, what would you say to people um, who kind of feel like they are insensitive and they're not, they can't, when we have a block and we go, oh no, I can't do that. I'm not a very sensitive person. I won't be able to do that. Can you speak to that part of,
Yes, I
our
can. Comes up
insecurities?
all the time.
Yeah.
Oh, maybe I was just making that. Oh, that was just my imagination. That's a good one. And I
Mm,
want to ask everybody, where does your imagination come from? I mean, to be honest, you have to image something first before it becomes manifest. So the whole thing about, okay, so because words are what's familiar, that's what's familiar to us in the communication level. So the tendency is to have words in your head when you're communicating with a plant or any aspect of nature, really. But that's the tendency. What you need to remember is the words in your head is a translation of the vibration. The vibrational resonance of the plant is coming to you. You're receiving it in some way. You get words in your head, and the first words in your head are, is that really the plant, or are you, are you making this up? If that's the first thing that comes, you need to check it because it's a translation. And the tendency is, uh, depending on what uh, formally, what kind of got embedded, you might say, as a younger person, perhaps. A
mm,
lot of this happened when you were young. How many times when you were young did a parent, teacher, um, you know, a religious figure, some authoritarian figure say to you, "Oh, that's just your imagination." How many
mm,
times did that happen when you were a kid? Think
mm,
about it. A lot. And so, of course, as an adult, you're going to say the same thing to yourself. Is that just my imagination? So you question yourself because that's what got embedded a long time ago.
mm,
So I just want you to, when you hear that in your head, be like, well, now, wait a minute. Wait a second. Let's put aside I'm not this, I'm not that, I'm not smart enough, I'm not whatever enough.
mm,
Put that aside and that, remember that you actually do know the language of plants. You actually do know the language of plants. And you're now going to remember that. And you actually are in communication with another sentient being like yourself. You're sentient. The plant is sentient. And together you're going to communicate in a sentient way that's not words. So it's just starting to remind yourself of who you really are.
mm,
Who am I really? I'm not that little kid that was told that I can't use an imagination.
Mm.
I'm not that little kid that was told I was making it up. I'm not that little kid that somebody said to me, well, you'll never be able to understand that. Or as I got a little older and somebody in, which in another, hierarchical kind of situation, maybe a teacher of some kind said, well, you're not psychic enough. That's
Mm.
another big one. So we're told these things that are like not true
Yeah.
about who we truly are.
Mm.
So what the plant spirits do is they help you come into remembering your true essential nature, who you really are, and what are the gifts that you've come in with this time around to offer to the world. That's what we're here to do. We're
Mm.
here to share our gifts, and we're here to be good stewards. Keyword is good stewards of this beautiful planet that we live upon. So we're here to be good stewards. We're here to share our gifts, and we're here to remember who we really are, and to remember that we've been co-evolving with plants for a very long time, and that we are closely related to plants. We are very symbiotically related to plants, physically, emotionally, mentally, and spiritually on all levels. So we're remembering that. So when those words come in that say, oh, that's just your imagination, or you're just making that one up,
Mm.
you need to stop in that moment and be like, actually, no, I'm not making it up. This is my experience. This is the experience that I'm having with this plant. This is what I feel and sense and am being touched. And this is what I feel this plant is bringing to me at this time. Now, just to remember that things are situational. Some plants are giving you personal messages. Some plants are working with others. Some plants are working, with the earth. Some, and your situation has to do set and setting, so to speak, like is all important. So it's really important for you to move out of the not energy and
Mhm.
step into the yes energy, which puts you right in the flow. And it may be that what you're receiving for the plant is for you right now, in this moment, in this situation. And that's the only time it'll come for you because it's for now.
Mm.
And it may be that it's for time beyond our own, even. So, and that's part of trusting. And
Mm.
once you trust, and again, I'm going to say this, plants don't lie, people do. So just to say, you can 110% trust plants, even plants that somebody told you was the enemy. So, poison ivy is a good example. Where I live, poison ivy. I mean, people want to demonize invasive plants now. Okay,
Mhm.
invasive. All right. Well, you know, people have been moving across this planet since day one. And oh, we got a few plants that are moving in now from someplace else, and you're going to demonize them because of why?
Mm.
And, just to say, a lot of these invasive plants are amazing healers. So it's really important to realize that it's all here. You've got it. You really do. It's just you've forgotten. We've fallen into this deep amnesia.
Mm.
We've separated ourselves from nature, which is what a lot of what my new book is about, is this separation from nature, and how devastating that has been for all of us personally and on the planet. What's happening to the planet. So we just need to remember who we really are, and that we are connected to all of life, and especially the plants. And the plants, they got our backs. They want us to succeed. They're here to help us kind of take it to the next place. And so anyway,
This is
some of
so
my thoughts.
beautiful. My heart just really opened when you said plants don't lie. I thought, I was like, oh, it felt like such a relief to hear someone say that.
No, they don't. They don't. It's like, why? What would be the point?
Yeah, their interests are totally different. But you know, while you were speaking, I was remembering it must have been a presentation of yours that I attended, and again, we talked about how long it's been since we last saw each other, quite a number of years. But I remember I had some notes in front of me, and every so often, you know, you find these notes somewhere, and I know exactly what I wrote on that piece of paper. There's a few things, but I remember there's two words: ping and thud. So do you
The
want to
ping
share
thud
that
method.
with
Yeah,
the
you
do
want
you
to hear
want to
about the
share
ping
that
thud
with the
method?
audience?
Yeah. Well, my dear friend Kate Gilday, who's an herbalist in the US, she's lovely and does Woodland Essences is her company, and she does lots of classes and everything too. Years ago, she taught me the ping thud method, and it's basically is it 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 kind of is based upon like kinesiology or something. It's really about tapping into the energetics of positive, negative.
Hmm.
And, in kinesiology, it's kind of like working like electricity. When you're in a negative energy field, your muscles test weak. And when you're in a positive energy field, your muscles test strong. So that's kind of the basics. Ping thud is again relying on the energy of the situation or the question that you're asking of your heart. So you're bringing it into your heart, and you're asking whatever the question is, and you bring it in and it goes ping. It gives you energy. The ping is like, yeah, energy. Or thud. It's like all your energy drains. It's the same idea as plugging into positive, negative energy fields. That's what it's about. And it's quick, and it's a way that you get it right away. The biggest time that one of the big times for me, I was in England and I was teaching a class. And so I wasn't paying attention to what was going on in the world. I was busy. I got back to London to fly out the next morning. I wasn't going anywhere because the volcano went off in Iceland. Nobody was going anywhere. And I was like, oh, you're kidding me. Like, what am I going to do? So I ended up making arrangements. I had been in Ireland with my friend Carol Guyette, and another amazing herbalist. For all of you, who's the originator of the plant initiations is Carol.
Yeah,
Anyway,
her book's
yeah,
great, isn't it? Actually, yeah,
yeah,
we'll.
yeah.
Hmm.
So I made arrangements to go back to Ireland to be with her, because it was like, I didn't know how long. Nobody knew how long they were going to be stranded. So it was like, I got to be somewhere where there's at least people that love me and care about me, than being in some who God only knows what kind of hotel in London. So, so so I go to the desk and I say to the woman, I said, I need to go to Ireland. I need to catch the boat because, of course, I can't take a plane. So I need to catch the boat to Ireland. Well, you got to go out there and you got to stand on the corner and you got to take the red bus. So I went out and stood on the corner, and I got my suitcases and I got my frame drum with me, and it's falling off my arm, and I'm rolling everything out to the corner. And guess what? For all of you Londoners, all the buses are red. And I stood on the corner and big tears started to roll down. I was like, oh, they're all red. I don't know which one to get on. They're all red. And I was like, what? It's like, it's a really unnerving feeling to be in a foreign country. Thank God, English speaking, but to be in a foreign country and to not be able to get home, it's very unsettling. So here I am. I don't know what to do. And so I stood on that. And so here's two things that are going to come up right in this that are both important for this. One of my main allies, like personal allies, is white pine, the white pine tree. I
Mm.
stood on that corner, so when you receive the vibratory resonance of a plant or a tree, whatever, you receive in your body what I call a felt sense. And it can be a sensation, like a literal sensation, like heat, tingling, something like that sensation. It can be a posture as well. So which it's called getting a handle on the vibratory resonance of the plant. So that's how you call up the plant. So For me, white pine is tower of strength. And so what happens is my shoulders go back and I stand really tall and straight right here, right in the center of my being. Tower of strength. That's white pine. So when I do that, white pine's like, boom, right here. So here I was. And I was like, okay, I need help and I need help right now. So I went, white pine, I need your help now. I'm in a situation that I need help with. Please come and help me. That's what I did. Up, come walking up the street, lovely businessman, tie, suit, the whole works of Indian descent, Indian descent. And he sees me and says, can I help you? Oh, yeah, I got to go to Ireland. And so he was like, well, you need to take this bus and this bus. Oh, wait. I'm going to have to write that down. Then I have to fish for something to write. He said, well, I'll take you. And of course, the voice in my head, the head voice said, don't ever go off with a stranger. And I said, just give me a second. I turned away from him. I just turned to the side and I said, okay, heart, in my heart, go off with this stranger, ping or thud. And it went, and I turned around. I said, okay, let's go. So this man we got on the right bus, took me all the way to where the train station was. I got on the train, which took me to the boat, then the boat that took me to Ireland eventually. So I just trusted him. And he took me where I needed to go. And so when I got on that train, I was like, who was that? Was that was that white pine? Was that an angel? Like, who was that?
A lovely helping
I
hand
asked
from
for
the
help.
universe.
Help showed up.
Yeah.
I went off with a stranger because my heart went ping. I trusted it all.
So I'm curious, what questions are you asking the plants at the moment? Thank you for that lovely
Oh,
story, by the way. That was really lovely, lovely
what
story.
what am I asking of the plants right now? Well, so here's what's going on with the plants right now. They're amazing, just to say, which I know you know that. So we wouldn't be sitting here talking if you didn't know that. Um, it's like the old Buddhist saying, when the student's ready, the teacher appears.
Mm.
So when you're ready, the plants go, here's another piece. Pretty much when you're ready, they hand you another piece.
Uh-huh.
So I'm going to say recent. It's been a while now, actually, since 2010. Actually, since this event that I just shared with you. That was 2010 when that volcano went off. And because I went back to Carol's, and it was April. It was the end of April. It was right before Beltane. And she was preparing to do what's now come to be called plant initiations. At the time, she was calling, calling them something else, but dreaming with the plants, something like that. She was preparing for her group of people to be coming for Beltane to engage in what we now call plant initiations.
Mm.
So she's the one that originated all of this. I ended up there just before Beltane because she does hers on the cross quarter days and the equinoxes and solstices, and she was preparing. So I got to participate with her. It was primrose. Primroses were blooming all over the hillsides. It was just gorgeous. And so so anyway, so that was 2010. So since then, I've been doing these plant initiations, which are basically 3 days of working with one plant in a ceremonial way. So you're making some type of an elixir, you're ingesting it, you're doing all different kinds of things with the plant. Breathing with the plant, that's another big one, your breath. But and embodying the plant, doing journeying with the plant, sitting with the plant, ingesting the plant. So anyway, you do all these things throughout 3 days with the plant, all in a ceremonial context. And so there's these plants. And so whenever I'm gonna, think about the next year of doing initiation, I don't choose the plant. The plant chooses me. And I just let that happen in whatever way it happens. So, what's really been super interesting in the last 4 to 5 years, coming on 5 years now, is that the plants, it's always in the past, it was kind of like a lot of personal healing, a lot of people just working through their stuff to get to the next place where you don't have to spend so much time on all that old trauma. It's like you can be done. It doesn't miraculously whisk it away, but you don't have to spend so much time on it. It's
Mm.
like we spend enormous amounts of time on all that old stuff, trauma, all the old trauma. And so what the plants are bringing us now is you can be done with that and let's shift the energy to becoming all you possibly can be, living to your full potential. And so that is happening.
Mm.
And there's this other piece of not only healing kind of the human condition and moving on, but also the collective, healing the collective,
Mm.
what's going on in the big picture and moving on to what is it? What is it when we stop fighting with each other? Oh my God, war is so archaic. I mean, really?
Mm.
We're still doing that? So but apparently, yes, in the US, don't get me wrong, is a big part of all that, unfortunately. Anyway, so these plants are really stepping forward to help us heal that huge wound within the collective.
Mm.
All the isms, racism, sexism, ism, all of the isms are being healed. Um, what's happening on the planet, like all the, the not only climate, but existential crises that are happening on the planet right now. So the plants are, I'm not going to say that they're moving away from personal healing because that definitely still happens, but they're definitely moving into this arena now of the collective.
Mm.
And it has been so incredibly powerful. And every year it's always kind of, I should stop being surprised, but I'm always like kind of like, wow, really? Wow, that's what you bring into. So this year, um, the plant who has stepped forward is Angelica. And I'm like, okay, Angelica, working with the angelic realms, working with the, cosmic beings to a degree. Yeah, I mean, there's many things that Angelica is going to bring to us, I'm sure, but it's really the how is it that we live sanely within the collective with all of our diversity?
Mm.
That's a very big one. And
Mm.
that's what's coming forward. And I think Angelica is going to help us with this big time.
That's
So
amazing.
there's so much. I mean, I could
Yeah.
talk to you till I'm blue in the face about what the plants are bringing right now, but just
Yeah.
just to trust that these plants want us to succeed. And I used to always feel like, well, if people just weren't involved and like the planet would be fine, it'll heal itself. They don't, we don't need us. But
Mm.
I've really changed my tune on that one because what's coming forward right now is that um about the kind of the human species
Mm.
in its evolution. And I mean, right now it kind of looks like, it looks like, oh my God, the human species is just what is going on. And yet there's another piece of that too, where there's this notion of the species moving into what's referred to as a keystone species. And a keystone species, I mean, there's lots of species of animals out there that are, or plants could be a keystone species too. A keystone species basically means a species that um, is very beneficial to its environment um, based on the its numbers. so that even though the numbers of that species might be small, the effect on the whole ecosystem is profound
Right.
and huge.
Mhm.
So that's basically what it means. So that means that actually a small number of the human species could become keystone. Doesn't necessarily have to be all 8 billion of us or however many there are of us now. But so it's this really interesting time. It's exciting time to be alive because there's all this shifting and changing and this whole idea of us really, to a degree anyway, moving into what we're really here to be doing on this planet. I find
Yeah.
that very exciting.
It goes back to kind of what you were saying earlier about, that those plants really helping us become who we are, like our true nature. And
Yeah.
it's we've kind of we have had the blinkers on, or it's been hidden from us, or it's been, shape shifted out of us somehow, or we've let that, we've let society and the way we've been living mold it out of us. And I think it's really amazing what you're saying. I mean, I did introduce you earlier as a pioneer, and I really feel that your work this is just demonstrating that. I agree, that's hugely exciting for us. So we just have to kind of keep listening. And I really want you to now, we're going to start wrapping up soon, but we haven't really got into what co-creative partnership really means and really is. So perhaps can you just share about that? I mean, that's obviously the title of your book. And also, I know you've got these amazing course coming up. So, you know, to take it away for
Well,
now.
co-creative partnership is just like it sounds. It's, together, we're partnering with plants, especially because we're so symbiotically related to them, but other aspects of nature too, to to manifest where all life can thrive. I mean, that's basically it. And and so and there's, of course, ways to do that. Communication's a big one, but there's in my new book, Co-creating with Nature, Healing the Wound of Separation. That's my new book. And in that, the whole first part talks about co-creative partnership and all the different aspects of it that you engage in. And there's more. I've identified 6 main aspects, but there's more. There's everybody can add to it like that. And then how to really move into co-creative partnership. And then there's a whole section, about a third of the book is about the plan initiations, because the plan initiations are a very big part of how to come into co-creative partnership with plants, but with nature. So there's a whole section about that, and um, many of the plants that have stepped forward to become initiators. Like the plants are the initiators, and so I'm just there to facilitate the initiation. I'm a facilitator. The plant is the initiator. So. Um, and it has all to do with, again, about how do we live sanely within the collective in all of our diversity? How do we do that? And so yeah, so co-creative partnership. It's a way to come into this balanced place of where all life can thrive, and not this hierarchy thing, but we're in it together.
Mm.
So yeah. So we do the initiations. I do initiations at my place I live in Vermont in the US, which is on the East Coast. I do every year I do one plant steps forward, and we usually do 2 different dates. Both of those are full right at the moment, but there are other people that are doing initiations now as well. In the UK, you've got Emma Fitchett. She does that. In Ireland, you've got Carol Guyette, who are doing initiations. And then I'm gonna do coming up pretty soon in April 11th, I'm gonna do a free online course called Gateway Herbs Are Guiding Us in Our Next Evolution, which is we're going to talk about some of these plants that I've been saying to you that are stepping forward to really, bring kind of big shifts on the planet right now. So we're going to talk about some of them in that online free event. And then May 4th, I'm going to begin my it's 8 months, an 8-month online course that I do every year. This is year 7, I believe, of this course, and it's called Co-Creative Partnership with Nature, and it's a mentorship. So it's a combination of videos and audio and written materials, and then we have live things too. We have live Q&As, we have live meetup sessions. You have one-on-one sessions with me and with one of my associates who she's a coach, so she helps coach you through like time management and those kinds of things to do a course like this. So that's coming up as well. And that's a long time course with lots of information in it about co-creative partnership and working with plants co-creatively as well. So that's kind of what I'm up to these days.
Oh, thank you so much, Pam. So we're gonna end. What's the one thing that you would just inspire everybody to go and do right now who's feeling like we're living in crazy times. So what would you say the plants really want us to do right now, or what would you say?
Yeah. Well, I think the plants really want us to, again, remember who we really are. But I would say to you, start with what you've got, start with where you're at.
Mm,
You don't have to like jump jump way ahead and like suddenly try to start facilitating initiations. No, no, no. Just start right here where you're at. Start
mm,
with your breath. I mean, it is so simple. It is, not, this is not rocket science. Breathe. We all breathe and everybody does it. So, and just consciously breathe. Stepping outside your door in the morning, you've got a tree right there, you've got a plant right there, or maybe, you've got a park down the street, whatever. You've got something growing somewhere, and just breathe with it
mm,
and let that breath come in, and you're very aware that you're breathing in oxygen from a plant, tree, or sea vegetable. That's where your oxygen comes from, and you're breathing that oxygen in, and then you're breathing out carbon dioxide, which the plant is breathing in. That's the plant's in breath. So you're in this cycle of breath with the green world. When you take that and bring it into conscious awareness that you are actually the breath of another being and you're breathing in another being, it is incredibly intimate when you actually consciously get it that that's what's happening. It takes it from the mundane into the profound, and it's simply breathing. So it completely changes your relationship to plants once you really get that one. And it's so simple to do it, and you can do it every day. So I would start there, start with where you're at, get outside, spring's coming, get outside, sit with the plants, be with the plants, listen. Listening is very important. So spend time with plants, spend time in nature. If you have the great blessing, which many of you may do, to be near an ocean, oceans are awesome to be near as a part of nature. I mean, the amazing depth of wisdom and, I mean, ancientness that these oceans have seen a lot. They started it all. I mean, life like climbed out of the ocean. So,
mm.
I mean, it's just phenomenal. So just spend time in nature and let your ego take a little break while you're doing that and be in your heart. That's what I would
Thanks so
suggest.
much, Pam. That is amazing advice to finish with. So, all of the links to the free course, the free training and the course and Pam's initiations, everything is going to be below. Thank you so much, Pam, for joining us. And please, anyone listening, like this, share this with a plant friend who you know will enjoy listening to Pam or needs a bit more connection or needs to find out who they truly are. Thank you so very much, Pam, and thanks everyone for listening.
Thank you, Faye.
Bye.
Bye for now.